Well, here we are, deer season 2024, episode 2. My first hunt of the year in Kentucky, September 8th. I'm going to show you guys a hunt for a deer I called the Skinny 8. If you watched the summer episodes, you've seen that we've been doing a lot of prep work. I wasn't really sure what was going to happen in Kentucky. I bought some land a couple years ago with a buddy, and we had a big deer show up there the first year and had some promising deer last year. But I have a lease that's close to home. I've been hunting it for years. It's one of my go-to properties. And this summer we had a bunch of young deer just show up, and we made the decision we really needed to try to shoot a couple of these older mature deer. And one of those deer that showed up was a deer that I have now named Skinny 8. Ironically, I called him Chunky 8. But during the summer, this deer was kind of a recluse. I didn't get hardly any, if any, daylight pictures of him, but he was in an area that I know if he started at daylight, I'd have a good shot early in the season. The middle of last week, I checked the forecast. Opening day was Saturday, September 7th, and I saw a huge cold front from Friday to Saturday. Saturday was my daughter's birthday, so I knew I wasn't gonna be able to hunt that day. But Sunday, that cold front maintained. You went from in the 90s on Friday to in the low 70s as highs on Saturday and Sunday. I got that north wind I was looking for, and I got a daylight picture of Skinny 8 on Sunday morning. I knew exactly where I was going. Well, here we are, Sunday, September 8th. Season started in Kentucky yesterday on the 7th. I had my daughter's birthday and birthday party, so I didn't go. It was a heck of a cold front. It went from 90 something on Friday to a high of 71 or 2 yesterday, and we got that same temperature and weather pattern today. We've got northerly winds, and got an area that I'm going to I call North Ag. Got a picture of deer I was calling Chunky 8, but ironically he shed more velvet than what I anticipated, so might have to change his name to Skinny 8. But no, he's not that skinny, but he looked like he was gonna have some really massive blading going on up his tines. But I'm headed over to Kentucky. I'm gonna jump in the blind, and I'll see y'all when I get in there. All right, I'm gonna make this interview as quick as I can, because I already had a young doe come up here. But I know I probably look goofy, but I'm trying to hide kind of the silhouette of my face because it's up close, and there's a pretty good sized window in this hay bale blind. But here's the setup. We're in a spot called North Ag. I'm in a fence line that's running northwest and southeast with a north wind blowing into my face. Bunch of bedding all to my west, northwest, and northeast. So kind of a semicircle around me. I expect these deer to come out to these beans right in front of me, and some of the corn that's out here. The Skinny 8 did show up yesterday, excuse me, he showed up this morning in daylight right here where the camera is, which is about 20 yards in front of me. This has traditionally been a really good spot. We had an encounter with a deer. Uriah ended up shooting Cold Rooster. We were out of the tree stand that's about 50 yards northwest of here, but we've seen old classic big deer, deer we called BLT, and a deer we called Dr. Trey. Out of this has just traditionally been a really good spot, but I have a feeling I'm not going to be able to talk a whole lot because according to the pictures, and we just know out here on this bean field, there gets to be a lot of deer. So I'm going to get set up. Of course, for those of you that haven't watched the channel, I have to use a crossbow. In 2017, I was diagnosed with keratoconus, so my vision in my eyes are bad, and they're never going to get better. I had surgery to keep it from getting worse, but unfortunately I don't take in light, and I got
2060 to 2080 vision, so that reticle really helps. So just to be an ethical hunter, you know, I'd love to use a compound bow again. That was so exciting. To be an ethical hunter, I cannot do that. But we'll see if Skinny 8 comes in. There's another deer out here that I call the Vineyard 8, just because he lives over in an area that used to be the Vineyard. So we will see what happens, and hopefully I'm videoing shooting Skinny 8.
Okay, so a deer that I call Big D, really nice 3-year-old 10 just came out, and that's a really good sign. Because in a lot of the trail cam pictures throughout this summer and recently, Big D kind of has followed around or been first out, but he's there with Skinny 8 a lot, so good sign for the rest of this evening. So let's see what happens here. Just after sunset, there was a spike buck eating on the corn, and I saw him throw his head up real quick. I looked out the side window. Sure enough, here was Skinny 8 coming through the field. Unfortunately, I was blocked by a dead spot in the blind, but check out this cool trail camera picture I got as he walks up the field towards me. Well, that plan worked. First sit out, and I just shot, I'm calling him Skinny 8. Looked like a good shot. I'm gonna review the footage. He came just like I thought. Came from the northeast, had a perfect northeast wind, and I think I hammered him, and he fell in the field. Nothing like hope. First sits are always the best. Let's go check this dude out. Red arrow. Covered. Is this here? You know, I look at a lot of trail camera pictures, so when I harvest a deer, I have a pretty good idea of, you know, how big they are, whether that's body size or their rack, but I was really surprised by this deer. I had called him Skinny 8 from a picture in that morning when he had lost his velvet, and thought, you know, really a decent amount of velvet came off, but as I walked up on that deer, I was pleasantly surprised. He had good mass. The Skinny 8 name really doesn't go with him, and he had a tremendous body. You know, I knew he was mature from the summer pictures. I just didn't know how big of a body he was, but man, he had a big body. Just a couple of things that helped on this hunt. You always hear it, but it really is. The first time in is always going to be your best sit, even if it's a stand or a blind that you've had out for years. That first sit into that season is huge. Another thing I've done as I've gotten older and had kids is I've hunted less, so I've had to by necessity, but it's actually made me a more effective hunter. I pick the best days. I'd say I pick 10 to 15 days a year, including rut, maybe a few more. But I'm looking in those early and late season, I'm looking for major cold fronts, usually with north and west winds. Everybody probably has some of their best stands and blinds on north and west winds. That's exactly what this was. And lastly, people talk about previous history with deer, and I had a little bit with this deer. Actually, I knew him from years past, but previous history is great, and I do look at that and it's very useful. But I will say, if you see a deer go to bed near your stand site or the site you're hunting that morning, it's a pretty good chance that deer's coming back in the evening. But like I said, I was elated. This is the first time I've filmed since the 2019 season. I was self-filming, so I was really happy that I could get it all on film, watch him go down on film. I'm even more excited too because it happened so quick, and I've got a really good deer up in Indiana I call Crown that I'm gonna be hunting, and you guys can keep following us along here to see the journey to hunt that deer in Indiana. Thanks for watching The Whitetail Factor.